Anatoly, how are you doing?
You know what? I got a little bit of mixed feelings right now, and let me tell you why. So I just talked to our designer about a new project, and every time I'm talking to designer, I'm a little bit scared.
Why so?
So when I propose some creative things to do, they look at me like shit. And when they show things that they find beautiful, well, I have to admit I'm not a huge fan of all of them.
Well, you might be not enough who struggle with this issue, but you know what? I don't think we should fear it all the time. Our today's guest has enough experience to help us fight this problem. So, hi guys, this is our new episode of a Product Drama podcast. This is Anatoly,
This is Max.
and today we have our new awesome guest, Agata Ageieva, a product designer at Relive and co-organizer at Ladies at UX Amsterdam. So, hi Agata.
Hey guys.
I'm still a little bit afraid. Can you do the first question?
Well, I guess I can. So, you know what? You shouldn't be afraid of all designers. At least there are a lot of types of them. And to
Okay.
clarify everything right now and make just this final move, let's clarify like what's the difference between product designer, UI designer, and UX designer. Can you help us with this, Agata?
It also like quite a tough question. So good job on that. I think even like in design field, people are struggling to find the difference between UX designer and the product designer. So UI designer is a designer who does solely UI, so user interface. They don't really do user experience. They don't create flows. They don't think about logic, and that's about it. So usually they are being presented with some logic or some wireframes by UX designers, and then UI designers, they just draw an interface on top of that. UX designers, on the other hand, are responsible for user experience. You would expect from them doing research. You would expect from them doing wireframes, interviewing users, interviewing stakeholders, getting I don't know, flows and different user scenarios. That would be an outcome of their work. And product designers are they might sound a bit similar to UX designers, but product designers care not only about user experience but also about business metrics. So this is like a really tough task to maintain the balance between user experience and driving the business metrics and making a company succeed.
Well, thank you. So, Anatoly, like after this detailed answer, like have you actually considered like who you scared the most of? Or
A bit scared, but I'm gonna try this second question. So, how do you working with developers? That's what I'm mostly do. With years, I started to understand how to understand if person is senior or less senior. Their behavior is a little different. So, do you know any tricks how a person can understand if designer is good or not? Because frankly speaking, mm, portfolio. I'm not sure whether portfolio says a lot to a person who is not a designer, because what they see is just a bunch of beautiful pixels and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first important thing is like talking to person and trying to understand the story and checking all the whys behind the stuff they did. So, for instance, I know you see a website on a portfolio, right? And the first question you should be asking, like, what kind of problem like we're trying to solve. And if designer can elaborate that clearly and can also present you with some metrics or maybe some results of the work that has been done, you are talking to someone who is from mid-year to senior level. But also another thing, like when you present someone with the problem, usually junior designers, they tend to jump straight into solutions without asking questions. So that could be a really good test assignment, I guess. And more senior designers, they usually ask questions like, oh, but why do you need that in the first place? Or what are you trying to solve with that? So yeah, but unfortunately there are no silver bullets to that. And yeah, you just need to talk and also to make mistakes and then probably learn from these mistakes.
It's also same as with developers. You find it your way actually, and it takes some attempts to understand who is like more senior and who is less senior.
Yeah, it's also like like a worry sign when a designer just coming to do something, or a person coming to do something in every industry without getting more details from you. So it really should like scare you even more than designers. But speaking also of designer's portfolio, because when a developer showing you his portfolio, it's possible to him just to prove that he wrote this code like after this. But as from the designer's perspective, I mean, is it that easy to prove that it's portfolio yours, or you can just show some stolen portfolio and like just act like it's your own?
Once I was reviewing portfolio where someone stole illustration from Dropbox and told me that he drew them himself. So it's yeah, I think like in some circles it's pretty common, and like I mean also with design like there is nothing new. So like all designers steal things, or like let's say are getting inspired by other designers, and then you just get like lots of references, and then you synthesize that into your design. But yeah, like I think one way to eliminate like thieves and people who are clearly not designers and like the works they presented are not theirs is test assignments. So something small, and also like not only like try to not only look on beautiful pixels, because in the end like designer thinking is what matters.
Well, I see, because yeah, really, I mean, being just transparent from the very beginning, I mean, it's crucial in every product. And I actually maybe can understand those designers who was trying to show the stolen portfolio, because maybe it like just was a shot for them, because like actually they're not wasting anything, just losing their reputation, but still it's like a chance to get a better job.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So sooner or later, you may find a company that is stupid enough to
To not
hire
check
you, right?
Dropbox, yeah. Because hey, here's Google, I decided. Yeah, but it shouldn't work in this way. But still, it's a very important thing from the very beginning in a product with a designer to make sure as for a customer that you and designer are thinking in the same direction. So maybe you can give some tips to a client, so he should put his attention on what things are most crucial to understand that your designer are both thinking in the same way, and the final result will satisfy you both.
For that, you first of all have to be open-minded, and also like I guess like in this question I'm always on the side of designers. But yeah, you have to be open-minded, and you also have to have clear understanding what do you want to get out of that collaboration. Of course, if you're hiring someone to make your website or your app pretty, it's one thing. And if you want help of a professional to figure out some problem or to improve usability of things, that's another one. But so depending on what you're looking for, there are like several different strategies. So of course, for beautiful websites and applications, you can just hire a UI designer, and that would be it. But for figuring out the problems and trying to add more value to your product, you should hire UX designer or better product designer. And make sure that this person has an understanding of your business, because otherwise it will be really hard to communicate when things are not working, and also it will be hard for designer to get proper insights from any kind of research he or she will be doing.
This is such a open term that everyone thinks different things.
Yeah, just like comments in like think outside the box, but still like what the box is. Like
Yeah.
you just have to understand it
Exactly.
to think out of it.
Absolutely. So I think the rule of thumb is try to not think in solutions, because it's like a human default, and like we all do that. Every time we see that something isn't working, we have a solution to that. I have this example which was like almost a textbook example from my like several years ago from my previous company. And at some point in time, manager came to me and he was like, yeah, we have to improve usability of the tool our customers are using, because it's not working properly. Like we don't see enough results, and we don't see people adding highlights to the videos. So I was very skeptical about that, because the manager came to me already with a solution. He already knew what to do. It was almost like, oh, draw me a button here or draw me a drop down here and we are done. But if you dig deeper, and what my manager allowed me to do, he's a very open-minded person. So we went and researched, we spoke to our users, we tried to understand why exactly they're not adding the highlights to the video. And here I should probably give you some backstory. So I was working for a football streaming company, and we had this tool which allowed people to stream football matches and add important game moments or highlights, like goals or corner kicks or penalties to the video stream. And of course, for the product, these highlights, they are extremely important because these highlights are basically the main distribution channels. People would share the goals on social media, more users will come in, and so on and so forth. So highlights, as I mentioned, highlights are super important. People are not adding them, and just making things usable wouldn't cut it. So after talking to our users, we understood the problem. And thing is that we used to work with third league, second league, amateur and semi-professional football. And usually these people, the stadiums they play on, they usually don't really have a cover. People don't have spare laptops, and football season is usually from autumn to spring, when the weather is quite bad. So that's why people were just streaming with the phone or with the camera without adding highlights, because they didn't really have any place to cover their laptops. So what we did, we just developed an application which helped people to add highlights within the streaming application, and that was it. And it actually changed that so dramatically. I think we had an increase in 50 or 60% of highlights added. And it was quite a game changer for all these second, third division clubs.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting case, because just the significant part was that the weather changed the product plan. I mean, so it's kind of unusual thing, I think, for most of products, just to consider the season of a year when you're building your product. But still, so the solution was in keeping in mind that weather in autumn, in spring can be rainy. I mean, wow, it's fascinating just to consider it when you're building your product.
Moving on with this question, let's say we've covered the previous situation, and I came to you and you told me you have to be open-minded, and then I return. I'm saying okay, I'm open-minded person now. Do you have any tips how it is better or more efficient to talk to a designer when you are open-minded person?
That's something that we can also we as designers can learn as well, is try to not talk about design, but talk about why exactly that design is there in the first place. So for instance, I don't know, I made a design for you with rainbow buttons, and you don't really like these buttons. So of course
it's a Pride Month. I think everyone's just using them right now.
Well, yeah, but let's say that the buttons were outside the Pride Month, so and you don't really like them. But so of course it asks for conversation why exactly buttons are rainbow buttons, and the senior designer or media designer or any sane designer would tell you probably it wasn't the best idea, because if the brand isn't in rainbow. And there is no scientific studies that say that rainbow buttons convert people better. They are not supposed to be there. Try to talk with reason, but not with opinions about design.
I'm interested in how customer can measure the performance of the designer, especially when there are multiple kinds of designers. And can we measure design in numbers, or this designer? I guess we can for some, but not for everyone.
Again, if you have the definition of success somewhere in the back of your mind, and you know what you expect from the collaboration with the designer, it's already rather easy to measure. Again, I cannot speak for all companies, but at Relive we measure literally everything, and design there is very much measured. So every design change you make, you already try to think what kind of what kind of change this change will bring, if it makes sense. And then you can quantify that. So for instance, if you're working on on onboarding funnel, you set up the primary metric that you will use to measure your success by to onboard X amount of users. So if you hit the metric, then design was good enough for the users, and it helped them to onboard and helped them to make the job.
So basically, we don't measure design using some specific design metrics. We just measure the business, and design as a part of the business is.
Yeah, like of course there are lots of metrics or lots of tools that you can use as well to measure usability of your website or your application. You usually have a Hotjar or other tools that create heat maps or record JavaScript events. And then you can watch and see watch recordings and see if people are struggling with checkout, or if they are scrolling down the page and read the important information the designer put there. Probably they won't, but so you can use lots of things. I think the most important part is to know upfront what do you expect from that.
What are the 3 worst questions to ask designer? Like the most cliche ones, maybe.
Can you make it pop? Have you played with the fonts? I don't think there are really bad questions to ask. I think all questions are valid, and they really depend on the situation and the person. So I would say there are no bad questions to ask with designers.
The point that the worst question is that you're afraid to ask, but I think it's really not necessary to ask designer, can we make this button red? Because that things are too common, and indeed you just have to be transparent in everything to be completely sure that you're okay, we're good about everything. So you shouldn't just afraid to.
Probably one of the last questions from my side. Which books would you recommend for customers to read to better understand designers, to improve their communications with designers?
Oof, that's a tough question. But it's an interesting one. So I guess I would recommend design basics 101 is the Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. It's a great read for everyone who is interested in design, and I think not even designers, but just in general, it's nice read. Another thing I would recommend, I recently finished Listen Like You Mean It, and this is a book which was written by a researcher, user researcher, but it really helps to structure the conversation and ask the questions that you would like to ask, and also have tough, weird, awkward talks going smoothly. So getting back to the point where you're afraid to ask a wrong question, or you're afraid to ask questions in general, that book would definitely help.
And since right now we are talking about how to improve the communication between designer and customer, maybe just let's discuss one initial thing. So what, in general, I think that it's quite common problem for a business when it comes to designer, that business or business representative that just doesn't know what they actually want to build. I mean, so they just they have an idea, but still they don't have a clue how they want to see it and how they want to make it. But still, speaking of this, maybe you can just recommend a to-do list for a customer that he has to prepare before coming to a performer. So, make this process more smooth and simple.
The first item of that to-do list would be probably the problem that you are trying to solve, or the problem that you think there is. So from that example, with the football video tool I've been working on, we've been thinking that the problem was the usability, but in fact it was the outdoor surroundings of people who were streaming. So come with a problem, and also with any kind of insights that you were able to gather from your customers, or from customer success people, or from customer support people. And that would be good enough. Probably also with, I guess, the time frame that you want to have that designed. That would be good.
That's at least it will be something at least. So it will be certainly better if after this episode, like designers will get new clients with this to the list, and it will be way simpler. I mean, at least we'll feel the value that we delivered to the world just with that like simple question and answer.
Probably one more. I would like to ask how as a client understand that the problem I'm going with the designer is the actual problem. Like in your case with the video tool, the problem that your manager came with to you was not the problem you solved at the end, right?
Yeah, that's a great question, and usually, well, I mean, you never know upfront if the problem that you think is a problem is actually a problem, or what is the scale of that problem, and so on. Because sometimes you have, these problems where, I don't know, like some fields they don't really work, and people cannot type their names or whatever. But when you look at the data, you see like the scale of the problem is like extremely tiny comparing to majority of the users, and like majority of users not experiencing that. But same like could be in a B2B environment where you have like this very vocal customer who is always complaining about things, and you're already ready to run to your designers, your project managers, and ask them to fix everything and like build that new feature that blocks that person. But again, if you would take a look at the data and see the scale, that again might be one vocal person or one vocal client. So you never know upfront, and the only thing that will help you to know that is research, interviewing customers, interviewing stakeholders, interviewing users, looking at the data if there is any. And it could be done by designer, or it could be even done by managers. Like again, in my company, everyone interviews our users, so it's not only like designers' prerogative.
So I shouldn't be nervous if I'm coming to designer asking to make the button red, and she answers like, "Hey, I need to do some research in order to understand the problem." And I'm like, "What? I just want to make this button red. It's very easy."
Yeah, like the right answer still might be like the button is supposed to be red, for instance. But sometimes it might be not. So like if you want to de-risk that, and like if you like to think about your product or like the service you're offering in the long-term scenario, it's probably worth investing money into research and taking things slowly rather than just changing colors of the buttons or delivering features that no one will ever use.
Like the kind of vital things for a successful product, for successful design, or for successful job and communication between the client and this product designer is to just be transparent in your thoughts, like just ask questions that you're like afraid or not, and still being open-minded, whatever
Right.
it means.
Yeah, whatever it means.
Okie dokie then.
Yep.
So guys, I really want to thank our today's guest, Agata Ageieva, for being with us, for answering these questions, and I believe that we made an insight for customers who were planning to come to designers, or who will certainly make it in the future, because I think once everyone like can just face this problem, and it will be a certain like list of tips for them.
Yeah, or who want it, or and afraid to. So.
Yeah. So today we had Agata Ageieva, a product designer at Relive. Thanks you guys so much for watching our episode. I hope you will stay tuned for the next one, because still we're growing, changing our gear, and making this podcast better for you.
It was Product Drama Podcast. Max.
Anatoly,
Bye, guys.
goodbye.